Well, a very, very happy Friday morning, everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube. San Diego Sports Talk. Very nice to have you with me this morning. And I want to thank everyone. We had Dylan Hernandez on the other day from the LA Times, and a lot of people really enjoyed our interview. We went for a while the other day, but a lot of great baseball content, a little college football content regarding USC, UCLA. And I saw yesterday, UCLA fired Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. We got into the Lakers, and the Lakers went out and laid a royal egg on Wednesday night against Miami. Got beat by 41. Eighth worst loss in Laker history, for crying out loud. They've lost their last two games. Have lost by a combined of 70 points. They play tonight in Atlanta. See if the boys can get it together. But we got a big show for you today. We have one guest coming up at 10 o'clock, John Maffei from the San Union Tribune, our weekly Friday guest, talking high school sports. We've got Southern California regionals tonight. We got two games tonight. We got four more tomorrow night. We're going to tell you where they're going to be and who the participants are going to be. So stay with us. We're also going to talk about the annual All-Star football game that's coming up in the middle of December. We'll tell you about that and who's going to be coaching that. But we got a lot to cover today, folks. We're going to start with college basketball. I tuned in the other night to the San Diego State Fresno State game. And I expected it to be a tough game, and it was early on, but then the Aztecs, pulled away, ended up beating Fresno State 84-62 in their conference opener. And the thing that's really encouraging to me is the way the big guys are starting to play. They've got a good backcourt. Now, Nick Boyd the other night did not play well, but he didn't look like he was 100%. In fact, even the announcers on the game the other night mentioned, boy, Nick Boyd just doesn't look right. And Nick Boyd had a rough night. Subpar game, 6.6 rebounds, 4 assists, but he was 1 of 10 shooting and 0 for 5 behind the arc. We know he's a much better player than that. And he'll get it together and he'll get healthy. But the big guys are starting to really come together. And when you take a look at the Aztecs, they're 5-2 right now, 1-0. They've got a game tomorrow night, Saturday night against USD at Viejas Arena. That's a game they should be able to win. USD went over earlier in the week and got run off the court in the second half by Bobby Hurley and the Arizona State Sun Devils. So that should be another win. That should get them to 6-2. But they're 1-0 in conference play. And Fresno State's not great. We know they got a new head coach, Vance Wahlberg, who coached at Pepperdine, took over for Justin Hudson. And by the way, congratulations to Justin Hudson. He got a job. He's going to be working for his wife, Stacy Hudson, out there at San Diego State, going to be an assistant basketball coach. Justin Hudson, a good basketball man. And she's got a good team, real good team. They've only got one loss right now. They're playing great basketball and going to bring him on staff, which is a good get. And I figured he'd be back in the mix one way or the other. But Fresno State's not great. They play hard. They play at a very fast rate. And the Aztecs early on came out maybe a little bit flat. Conference opener, people up at Save Mart Arena are all fired up for a new head coach, a new beginnings for the Bulldogs basketball program, and they gave the Aztecs a pretty good game in the first half. Second half, Aztecs blew them off the court. And I talk about the big guys. Magoon Guat, the 7-foot freshman, a career night, 25 points, 10 rebounds. He had 10 of 13 from the field. He stepped out and went 3 of 4 on trifectas. I mean, this kid's got some ability. He had a couple of blocks. But, I mean, this guy, I don't know how long he'll be here with the Aztecs, but let's enjoy him. Let's enjoy him as long as we can keep him here in San Diego. I mean, what a talented guy. And then you take a look at the freshman forward, 6'8", Pharaoh Compton. Good ball game, 9 points, 4 of 4, 3 rebounds. Looked great. Jared Coleman didn't have a great night, but 6'10", he's in there working. He had 6 rebounds, only had 2 points, 1 of 7 shooting. But they got some size. And when you go back and look at the Aztecs in the Steve Fisher era, then the early Brian Dutcher era, and see where they've gone in the NCAA, now they realize they got to get some girth. You can't just win with a bunch of 6'7" and 6'8" guys. You need those big guys because little guys get tired, but big guys don't shrink. And you got to have those big guys down there in the paint. and they got, a 7-foot, or they got a 6'10" guy, a couple 6'10" guys. Miles Hight hadn't played a whole lot this year, but he's working, trying to find more playing time. The Aztecs have the backcourt. The backcourt is not an issue, and they're going to get energized when Reese Waters comes back. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, probably in January at some point. But the way they're playing right now, they don't need him. It's only going to add to their depth. And it's going to take him a while to get back in and get into the flow and work with his teammates. But this Aztec team, because the big guys are growing so quickly, I mean, in their level of play, it's been fantastic. And every game that guys like Guath and Coleman can get, and Coleman's not a young player. I mean, he's a senior. But, he's a young player in this conference and with the Aztecs. And then you look at a guy like Pharaoh Compton. I mean, he's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a player. I hope all these guys can stay around for a while. But a good win. They got USD Saturday night, Viejas Arena at 7 o'clock. Last night, Eric Olin, the head basketball coach out there at UC San Diego, took his ball club up to take on the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara, the famous Thunderdome. And UCSD last year, they beat the Gauchos both times, home and road last year. But I know that they're predicted to finish third this year, that's being UCSD, and the Gauchos are supposed to be vying for the conference title with UC Irvine. Well, last night, the conference opener, the Tritons went up there and played a hell of a basketball game, and they got the win. They got the win over Santa Barbara, 84-76. Aniwa Tate Jones, 22 points, a young man out of New Zealand, heck of a player. Norden Kapich, who just came in this year, he had 19 points. The Tritons are for real, folks. They're 7-2, 1-0 in conference play. They play Saturday night against Cal State University Bakersfield, who lost on Thursday night to Irvine, 82-66. But Rod Barnes, who used to be the head coach at Ole Miss, will bring a team down that plays very, very hard. Won't be an easy game for UC San Diego. But they play at Lion Tree Arena on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. I'll be calling that game on ESPN+. Okay, college football, and then we're going to get into some baseball. Winter meetings, by the way, if you're not aware, they open up on Monday. Everybody will be showing up pretty much on Sunday, and the winter meetings will get rolling on Monday. Early signing period started on Wednesday. Aztecs signed 18 players. That was good. They signed 3 players from San Diego. And then yesterday it came out, and this is one of the guys, if you recall, I think it was last Friday, I talked about the transfer portal a little bit. And the transfer portal actually opens up on Monday, but there are a lot of guys' names that are being thrown out right now. And they're saying right now there could be as many as 12 Aztecs right now enter the portal. But one of the guys that I feared would enter the portal apparently is going to enter it on Monday, and that's the wide receiver Jordan Napier, who's got 3 years of eligibility left. Very talented player, 43 catches, 440 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a team that was just trying to figure out their offense. Apparently, their backup quarterback, Javance Tupu Ata Johnson, redshirt freshman, who when he played, I thought he didn't get much opportunity this year, but the kid has some talent. But, with Danny O'Neill here and Sean Lewis having recruited Danny O'Neill when he was at Colorado and got him to go to Colorado, then switched to San Diego State, he's very loyal to Danny O'Neill. So Tupu Atu Johnson decided to get out. You know what? Can't blame him. Probably go somewhere he can get a better opportunity. And then the backup running back, Jalen Armstead, played in the first 3 games this year and then didn't play after that. And he's been a special teams player in the past. Good kid. I remember interviewing him about a year and a half ago. Really nice young man. Now, he was a senior because he only played in 3 games, and they were the first 3 of the year. He's eligible for a redshirt. He's going to go in the portal and go somewhere else. And then, of course, Jordan Napier. And we hear there could be as many as 12. The other 9 to this point have not been identified. And hopefully they're not some of the big name guys. There's one other guy that I'm not going to get into right now that I heard maybe getting some pretty good offers, but I'm not going to throw that out there until he makes a decision one way or the other. But Jordan Napier, that's a loss. That's a loss. Okay, we're going to get into a little baseball talk today. And then we're going to have John Maffei on it right about 10 o'clock. I look every day, folks. I look every day for baseball information. And it seems like we're kind of going around in a circle right now. Because a lot of it evolves around our old buddy Juan Soto. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out on this. I really don't believe the Dodgers have ever sincerely wanted to sign Juan Soto. Maybe they've wanted to drive the price up for the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, and any other suitors, namely Toronto and Boston. And I just don't think Soto, from what I know of his time here in San Diego, just doesn't seem to be a fit. Dodgers, I think, do a really good job of weeding guys out, players' ability, players' makeup, the drive the player has. And I just don't think Soto would fit. Not that he doesn't play hard, not that he's not a great player. We know he's a great player. But at the end of the day, Soto's a one-dimensional guy. He can hit, and boy, can he hit. And he'll walk, but he'll hit when he swings the bat. But he's 26 years old. What's he going to be like at 31, 32? Is he going to keep himself in shape? I saw him here with the Padres. I didn't think he was in real good shape, even though the guy could swing the bat. I thought he got himself in much better shape this past year with the New York Yankees. But he's a liability to a degree in the outfield. Now, it really kind of depends on what ballpark he goes to and where he's going to play, 81 games a year. Is he going to be a left fielder or is he going to be a right fielder? In San Diego, they had him in right, then they had him in left. Last year, the Yankees had him in right. He played left a lot of the times when he was in Washington. He actually played both right and left. He's played both right and left quite a bit. Never played center. Never will play center. But he's not going to the Dodgers. I still think he's going to the Mets. I don't think the Yankees are going to break the bank for him. I mean, they're going to probably give him over $600 million. I was listening to a couple of people talk about Soto the other day. I mean, a 15-year deal. I mean, giving him a deal till he's 41 years of age, that could be ugly. Because when he goes, I have a feeling he's going to go quickly as far as his skill set. Because he doesn't run well. He throws okay, but he can't cover ground. And he's going to be a DH in his early 30s. I mean, that's a lot of money to pay for a designated hitter. And you can say, well, what about Ohtani? Well, Ohtani's also a pitcher, and he signed as a pitcher and a hitter. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think once Soto signs, then it's gonna really get busy. We seen Blake Snell sign a week ago with the Giants. Mark Kotze, I talked to Kotze this morning because I was going to make sure he was coming to our party tonight at the Leucadian. Again, that party's open to everyone. It starts after 4 o'clock. Kotze said, hey, you got to text me in the morning of the party, give me the directions. So I did that, and he goes, hey, Coach, I can't make it. Tell everybody, have a great time. He goes, I'm on my way to Oakland. You know why he's on his way to Oakland? Because the Oakland A's or the Athletics or whatever they're going to be called this coming year, playing in the minor league ballpark, they signed Luis Severino. They gave Severino a contract, so Mark's going up there for the press conference. So he's going to miss our party tonight. We got some other stars coming, though, I can tell you that. But nonetheless, we're going to start seeing the shoe drop on these free agents. As soon as Soto drops, then we're going to probably see what happens with Willie Adames. We're going to see what happens with Corbin Burns. We're going to see what happens with Max Fried. The big name guys. And the Padres are not in line for any of those guys. I don't believe. I don't believe that's the case. But when the winter meetings start on Monday, I can tell you this. There's going to be a lot of talk from the Padres. I mean, AJ Preller and his staff, they got to roll their sleeves up and they got to get after it. Because when I'm looking at their roster right now, they've got 2 catchers on their 40-man roster. And I touched on this a little bit the other day. They got Luis Camposano and they got Brett Sullivan. You're not going to win a championship with those guys behind the dish, or offensively. And I mentioned the other day, I saw this great home run hit by Camposano the other night for Lice in the Dominican League. And I go, man, he's cleaned up his swing. His front side's closed. He's not opened up, man. Drove the ball. And then I looked up his stats, and he was hitting 211 in winter ball. And then that happens. I understand that. And I know, towards the end of the year, he ended up in AAA and wasn't doing all that great. But right now, you got to roll the dice with Luis Camposano and Brett Sullivan. That's not going to get it done. And then I looked this morning before I came on the air. I was looking at guys that have already signed. And the guys that have already signed, I wouldn't want. I mean, we know Higashioka got a nice deal with the Texas Rangers. And you know what? Like I said the other day, more power to Kyle. He earned it. He's going to be 35 years of age. Let him have his moment in the sun. That's great stuff. And, he's playing for a great guy in Bruce Bochy. And again, even if you signed him here, you're going to have somebody else. And maybe it would be Camposano, maybe it would be Sullivan. The days of catchers catching 140 or 145 games, those days have come and gone. You're not going to have that. You've got to have 2 catchers. And I know in every article I read, whoever takes over here in San Diego is going to be a stopgap until Ethan Salas can get up here. Ethan Salas is 18 years old, and he hit 206 last year in high A ball. I mean, we may be waiting a couple of years. Let's don't rush the kid. That's the biggest problem I have with all organizations nowadays. They rush guys. Guys don't get the ability to develop at their own pace. If you do something halfway decent, man, they bring you to the big leagues. If you got a lot of money invested, let these guys grow as players, physically and mentally. I mean, Ethan Salas doesn't even have man strength yet. He's going to be a good hitter. I'm very high on Salas. I don't want people to think I'm not high on him. I'm very high on him. I think he's a really good catcher. I've watched a lot of tape on this guy. I think he's a great catcher. He's got quick feet, quick release. There's nothing not to like. It's just he's 18 years of age, and last year was really his first full year. Because if you go back to his first year, he was in Elsinore, and then they moved him to Fort Wayne for a couple of weeks. Then they stuck him in AA, and he was kind of all over. But last year, he had to catch a lot. And you get wore down, you get hit with foul tips, or you got those bumps and bruises. He's going to be a great player. But it may be 2 or 3 years. Let's don't rush the kid. If he gets here by the time he's 21, that'd be a hell of an effort by him to develop. But, I'm looking at the catchers that have already signed. I mentioned Higashioka, Travis d'Arnaud, 36 years of age, signed a 2-year deal with the Angels. Austin Hedges, we don't want to go down that road again. He's even a worse hitter now than he was with the Padres. He got a 1-year deal to go back to Cleveland. And he's 32 years of age. And then Jacob Stallings, pretty good catcher, and the guy that swings the bat pretty well. He's 35 years of age. He went back to Colorado. Those are the guys that have already signed. Now, some of the guys that are still out there right now, you got Gary Sanchez, 32 years of age. And I got news for you. Gary Sanchez did a great job in San Diego. Don't get me wrong. Gary Sanchez did one hell of a job in San Diego. He came in with the right attitude. The organization, when he first got here, they sat him down and said, hey, Gary, this is what we need from you. This is what we want. And Gary Sanchez, to his credit, he embraced it. And Gary Sanchez, I don't know what you folks thought. You can give me your comments on this. I thought when Sanchez was here, he was a much better catcher than he was with the Yankees. And he was a much better catcher than he's been talked about. I thought he did a really nice job here in San Diego. Didn't hit for much of an average, but he hit, 19 home runs, something like that? And then last year he went to the Brewers and didn't do much and made, I think, over $7 million. Now, Gary Sanchez is 32 years of age. I could see him coming back, but I don't think you can give him $7 million. See, I don't know where the Padres are at. I had a guy text me yesterday. I don't know why people text me all the time and think I know what the Padres' finances are. I don't. I don't know if Eric can spend $100 million more or $50 million more or $10 million more. I have no idea. But I appreciate everybody having a lot of confidence in me. But I have no idea what the Padres are going to do. I don't know how much money they have. I believe, just on what I know and what I've seen, and I know some players are going to get more money next year than they got this last year. They're going to be over $200 million. You got some 3 guys going to arbitration that are going to get significant raises. I mean, how about a guy like Luis Ariz? I know he doesn't hit for power, but for crying out loud, the guy's won 3 batting titles in the last 3 years with 3 different ball clubs. He's got to be getting a raise. Dylan Cease, he had a good year, threw a no-hitter. He's going to get a big raise. And then Michael King, he had a heck of a year. He's going to get a big raise. And then you got Fernando getting more money. Fernando, I think, made $11 million last year. He's going to make $20 million this year. He'll get $9 million more. But those are the contracts. That's where we're at right now. So I don't know. Unless the Padres start really developing their own players, I don't know how much we can go out and be active on the free agent market now. But I think as far as this catching position, I really think the Padres are going to have to make some type of trade. Because the guys that are out on the free agent market, let me give you a couple of names. I mentioned Gary Sanchez, Yasmani Grandal. You know that Yasmani's going to be 36 years old? And he hadn't hit a whole lot lately. You got Carson Kelly, the former Arizona Diamondbacks catcher. Good catch and throw guy. Gives you absolutely nothing with the bat. Danny Jansen. Martin Maldonado, great catcher. Not going to give you a whole lot with a bat. He's only 38 years old. Yan Gomes is 37 years old. He was a good player. All these guys were good players when they were younger. We don't need any more older guys here in San Diego. And, you know, I look at Carson Kelly. I could see him coming in here. Because I do think he is a good catcher, but not going to give you a whole lot offensively. I really don't know what the Padres are going to do. I think they have to make a trade because the guys on this list don't do a whole lot for me. Maybe they do. Maybe there's one guy that you really like. And I like some of these guys, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't like them now. What would you do? Who would you like to see the Padres go after and get as a catcher? That's what I'd like to hear from you today. Because I got news for you, folks. You got to have a good, solid catcher. You really need to have 2 good, solid catchers. That's where I'm at. And I'm going to be focused on a lot of attention during the winter meetings on what's going on. What's the conversation on catching for our San Diego Padres? Everybody needs catching to a certain degree. But there are a lot of good players out there. All right, WK, Jansen, Sanchez, or McCann will probably get signed by Padres. Well, Sanchez, I don't know how much they're willing to pay him. James McCann, he was a heck of a player. He's getting up there in years. I could see Sanchez, and the reason why, I don't know if there are going to be a lot of suitors after Gary Sanchez. Maybe he won't get the $7 million. Maybe he won't get the $8 million. Maybe he'll come in here for 3 or 4, maybe even $2 million with some incentives. But Ruben Niebla knows that he's a guy that he can work with. Mike Schill was around the organization, didn't manage Sanchez, but he knows what he's all about. And, of course, you take a look at Michael King. Michael King's got to love Sanchez. Played with him in New York. Brian F., $700 million to watch a guy try to get walked every at bat. Brian, that's a great one. I totally agree. But you know what? I think we saw it the second half of the season in San Diego in 2023, where I think his agent, or maybe the team, maybe the Padres said, hey, man, you got to swing the bat. Don't look for that perfect pitch. Go up there and do some damage. And he did some damage. Last year he was here in San Diego. You can't argue. The guy put up pretty good numbers. He put up good numbers, but he put up greater numbers with the Yankees. And like I said, I think he was in an environment there. He knew he was going to be a free agent. In a lot of ways, this guy, the last 2 or 3 years after turning down that big money deal from Washington, he had a lot of pressure on himself. Self-imposed pressure because he walked away from that deal. and the guy put up big numbers. I'm really anxious to see once he gets this big league contract. It's going to be one or two things when he gets this contract. He's either going to get lazy and just go out and play, or he's going to be really motivated, really inspired, and really energized because the pressure's off and he can just go out and play like a kid. And when you play like a kid and nice and easy, nice and relaxed, man, good things happen. But $700 million to watch a guy walk. I sat in the press box when he came over in 2022, and I used to get so frustrated. I used to get so frustrated watching him because there's times when there'd be guys on, first and second or second and third or a runner on third and less than 2 outs, man. Put the ball in play. Drive the ball to the outfield. Get that run home. But no, he would go ahead and work the walk. So now you'd have runners on first and third, and then the next hitter would come up and bang into a 5-4-3 inning-ending double play. And I'm going, man, the whole inning was screwed because Soto wouldn't swing the damn bat. T-Mac, Miles Bird is just fearless. Yeah, I agree, T-Mac. Miles, I didn't think had a great game the other night, but you know what? He's going to have those nights where he's really on fire. In fact, what did he do stat-wise the other night? I think I wrote his numbers down. They weren't big, but Miles, he had 9 points the other night and 10 rebounds, only 4 of 11 shooting the other night, 1 of 3 on a three-pointer. He's not a great shooter. But T-Mac, I'll tell you, he goes to the hole, and I think he is going to be a guy that is going to continue to grow and get better because he is, like you say, fearless. He's not afraid to go out there and play his tail off. We'll get to some more of your questions here before too long, but joining us as he does each and every Friday, talk high school sports, but I'm going to hit him with a baseball question right out of the box right now. Mr. John Maffei from the San Diego Union Tribune. Mr. Maffei, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm a little frustrated because I was trying to get something done with at work, and I am not very computer literate, so we didn't get it done.
Don't be so hard on yourself early on this Friday morning.
Yo, man.
Okay, the question, because you're the official scorekeeper, one of the official scorekeepers here in San Diego.
Yes.
And you keep a scorebook, and I know it's a little bit different than us, normal guys that keep a scorebook. But where would you put the golden at bat in your scorebook if they put that in the rules?
They haven't told us yet, and I hopefully they never will. What a horrible idea! That's insane. And even now, it's sometimes you get lost with the ghost runner in extra innings. You have to remember to go back and put that runner. He at the last spot where the guy who made the last out the last inning, and it gets a little confusing. So I hope we never do use the ghost runner.
Yeah, well, we got the ghost runner, but the golden at bat never needs to get off the floor. That's for sure. Hey, one other baseball question, because you're an old catcher and you've coached a lot of baseball and you've obviously watched a ton of baseball. I've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes talking about the Padre catching situation. You got Brett Sullivan, you got Luis Camposano on the 40-man roster. And then I look at the free agent roster, and all these guys are pretty much 35 and older, or if they're under 35, they're guys that really aren't guys that I'd want to see here. I think the Padres are going to probably have to make some kind of trade to get a catcher.
Oh, yeah. I mean, can they get anybody better than Higashioka? I mean, what a great year he had. And I don't know the finances, but if he was $5.5 or $6 million as reported, to me that seems like a bargain for him. And somebody who had a great offensive year, will he have that again? Maybe not. But the pitchers really like throwing to him, and as an old catcher, that's huge. That when you have the confidence of your pitching staff, and I think they had confidence in him.
Well, AJ Preller and his staff, when they show up down there in Dallas, I'm sure they're going to arrive on Sunday, but it gets underway on the 9th and runs through the 12th. They're going to have to roll up their sleeves. They need a left fielder. They need at least one catcher. They got to figure out whether or not Bogarts is going to be their shortstop in 2025. And they certainly need at least one, if not two, starting pitchers.
Yes. And, catching is a priority. Like Casey Stengel said, if you don't have a catcher, you have a lot of pass balls. So, they need to find, and how many chances can we give Camposano? I mean, I hope that he's the guy, but boy, he's had chance after chance after chance and hasn't gotten it done.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, you're going to hit him on top of his head with a wand and make him into Roy Campanella anytime soon.
No, or Johnny Roseboro for that matter.
Good point. I like those two references. Okay, let's wrap up last weekend, the high school football playoffs. From your standpoint, I know you were around. You spent a lot of time at Southwestern College. You don't need to go into every game, but just from your standpoint, how did everything go?
It went well. Everything ran on time. The Poway Mater Dei Catholic game with 44 penalties was just over the top, and a 3 hour and 40-minute game was agony. And
that has to be a record in San Diego. 44 penalties?
44, and that includes the ones that were declined, but 44 penalties were called. 34 were accepted. And it was, and I'm not saying it was a badly officiated game, because I happened to sit during the San Pasquale game. I sat with one of the officials that did the game before, and he defended his buddies and said no, he thought it was a well officiated game, and that it was just two teams that were very chippy, and so I didn't necessarily see it that way, but I think it was good that he stuck up for his guys. But it maybe if they'd have taken charge earlier and started throwing some kicking some guys out of game, and a player did get kicked out, but there was no flow. It was just that was a horrible game.
Well, that's unfortunate. Now we've got a bunch of games this week. We got 2 tonight. And we got 4 more tomorrow. And let's start with tonight's games. Okay. And I want people to pay attention, because it seems like all these games have different start times. Now, we'll start with the game that's going to be at Southwestern College. I found this to be rather interesting. I'll tell you why. In Division I AA, you got Newbury Park, who's 14-0. They're coming down to take on Lincoln, who's 10-2 at Southwestern College. Now, this game's going to be at 8 o'clock. I would think the 14-0 team would have got the home game rather than the 10-2 team. But hey, we're San Diego. We'll take it.
Oh yeah, and they tried to work it out where the section that where we would get 3 home games and have 3 on the road, and that's the way it worked out. I'm glad Southwestern was available for Lincoln. I talked to David Dunn, and he was thrilled to have a home game and at Southwestern, because they played several of their games there this year. So he went, we're comfortable there. So that's good. Newbury Park is very good. Their quarterback's committed to Florida State, so you have a Florida State and Oregon quarterback in that game. If you like quarterback play, that's probably the game to go to.
And they've also got a big tight end who's going to BYU, so they've got a quarterback and a receiver.
Yes, and they've got some guys. I think that that game could be a shootout, and again, it's kind of like what Cathedral Catholic went through with Lincoln. If you can contain Akili Smith, keep him in the pocket, you've got a chance. If you can't sack Akili and he gets out on his own, Newbury Park will be shuffling its papers a little bit.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I watched that Lincoln team with you a couple of weeks ago when they pushed around Cathedral Catholic pretty well. Offensive and defensive lines were pretty impressive, I thought, because, you go back and look at Lincoln. a lot of times they've won just because they have more talent than the teams they play. And they got guys that can flat out run and athletic, but their offensive and defensive lines weren't always great. I got news for people. Those offensive lines and defensive line, they're damn good this year.
They are, and Cathedral Catholic's lines were big. They have some some big, good looking dudes on that Cathedral line, and you look at the Lincoln line, and they had some guys, but they just had this. The Lincoln kids seem to have a little bit more intestinal fortitude, and and they got after it pretty good, and this I think this was a case where size doesn't matter. The Lincoln kids just got after it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. This will be an interesting game, but I'm going to tell you, and I know Newbury Park's 14-0. They may come down here and they may play the game of their life tonight. But I think if you go back and look at Lincoln, they do have 2 losses, but they went out and played a very dynamic non-conference schedule.
Yes.
That's where I think this non-conference schedule could come back to help them tonight in this game against Newbury Park, because they're not going to be intimidated.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They're not going to be scared. And I think when and again, David Dunn said when he scheduled, the teams in San Diego just don't want to play them because they figure the good team, you're going to see them in the playoffs. So why play them in the regular season? So he had to go out and be creative in the schedule, and he stepped up. He played some good teams, and I agree 100%. I think that has prepared them for tonight.
Okay, and again, that game tonight is going to be at 8:00, late start, 8:00 down at Southwestern College, Newbury Park, 14-0, taking on the Lincoln Hornets, 10-2. Okay, the other game tonight is going to be out in the East County. This ought to be fun, and I know you're going to this game. It's Division 5 AA, Victorville, Silverado, 9-5 at El Capitan, 10-3. This game is going to be at 7:30 tonight. And you know what? I'm a big Ron Berner fan. The guy's been out there for, I think, about 19 years coaching. He's had some really good teams. He's gone through some tough years. But I think most coaches around the county hold Coach Berner in pretty high esteem, the way he carries his program and the way he carries himself.
Yes, and when Coach Berner has a quarterback, because he likes to throw the ball, he gets it done. And and Brant Barker, they have a nice quarterback, and I think this game should be a shootout tonight. So I'm kind of looking for it. It could be a high scoring game, and whoever gets a key interception, a key sack, that could turn this one.
All right, now tomorrow night we got 4 games, and they're all over. We have some here, some on the road. Division 1A, Granite Hills, boy, they're in a good run right now. 11-2, traveling up to take on Huntington Beach Edison, who's 10-4. Edison last week, their star running back had to sit out, but he'll be back in there tomorrow night. So how do you break this one down?
This was one when they my predictions were posted. I got an email from somebody in the southern section, a fan, and he goes, pretty much, are you crazy? Picking Granite Hills to win this game, and I sometimes you pick with your head, and sometimes you pick with your heart, and I think the world of the Granite Hills coaching staff, and they are a talented team. They're probably, and playing on the road isn't going to be easy. So they're the underdog, but I wouldn't put it past Kellen Cobbs to get this done tonight or tomorrow night.
Well, again, that game, Division 1A, Granite Hills at Huntington Beach Edison. That game will kick off at Edison High School at 7:00. Okay, Division 3A, Arcadia Rio Hondo, 12-1, going on to take on the Poway Titans, who are still hanging there, a game under 500 on the year at 6-7, but had this incredible run in the playoffs. In Rio Hondo Prep, kind of an interesting story. They don't have a whole lot of students at that school.
They have 71 boys in their school, and they're going to take on Poway, who they probably have 71 boys in weight training. it's it's a mismatch size wise, but obviously Rio Hondo Rio Hondo Prep here for a reason. They're good, and again, this is a case of does size matter? Can they wear them down? Obviously they've got a lot of guys going both ways. And Poway is playing extremely well right now. Luke Jorgensen, their running back, is a load, and I think if they get Luke going, and Ty Hurst, their quarterback, was very impressive. Last week, he kind of flopped around a little bit during the season, but they played in the Avocado League. They went 0-6 playing Carlsbad, La Costa, Torrey Pines. Once they got out of that, they've scored 125 points the last 2 weeks. So I think they can outscore Rio Hondo Prep.
Okay, that game tomorrow night, Rio Hondo Prep out of Arcadia, 12-1, going down to take on the Poway Titans, 6-7. That game Saturday night at 6 p.m. Okay, Division 4A, St. Augustine. St. Augustine, 4-10 now on the year. At Downey St. Pius X, they're playing St. Matthias Academy, 6 o'clock on the road. Pretty amazing story here.
And this is two like teams. Pius X got in the playoffs at 1-9. Saints got in the playoffs at 0-10. So they are two very similar programs. They both struggled during the season, got in the playoffs, got on a run, and Saints has some kids get healthy, and they aren't scoring a whole lot, but they are playing great defense. And if they can play great defense again, I give them a shot. I sat with the Cathedral Catholic coaches when they played La Costa Canyon, and they saw the first Saints score in the postseason, and they went, you know what, that team's good enough to go 6-10 and win a state championship. And right now they're right. Right now they're on course.
That's amazing. So again, that game is going to be Saturday night. Tomorrow night, St. Augustine taking on St. Downey St. Pius X at 6 o'clock tomorrow night on the road. Okay, a final game, Division 6A, Pasadena, 8-6 at Monte Vista, 9-5. Ron Hamamoto, one of the all-time winningest coaches in San Diego County football history, all-around good guy.
Yes, one of the best, and he's got a nice club. And when you can hand it to your tailback 46 times, it takes a little bit of the guesswork out. And I was a little bit like everybody else. How good is Alexander Villanueva? Yes, he's got a lot of yards, but what's their schedule? They're playing Vincent Memorial and some of those teams. Alexander Villanueva is a good back, and he would play on any team in the county. Now, would he start ahead of Max Turner at Granite? No. Start ahead of Geo Hart at Mission Hills? No. But would he be the other back? He'd be the feature back on probably 90% of the teams in the county. He's a straight ahead, take on that first blocker, that first tackler, and he's got track speed. He's not a juker and that kind of stuff, but when he gets a crack, he can go. He's a track guy, and he can pick it up and get out and get down the field.
Who are you liking this game tomorrow night?
I like Monte Vista. I think they'll control the ball, control the clock, and have some long drives. And for me, being on deadline, when a tailback carries it 46 times, the game goes really fast.
So we're going to try to get that one in Sunday's paper then.
Yes, we are.
All right. By the way, I got to compliment you and your staff. That big one sheet that you and the staff come out with each and every Sunday is really pretty special, and I thank you for that. It's a good read each and every week.
Well, thank you.
The Pasadena Monte Vista game again Saturday night at 6 p.m. at Monte Vista. All right, Fee, I'm going to let you get out of here on this one. I had asked you a couple of weeks ago when we saw one another. I go, what's going on with the All-Star game this year? And I hadn't heard anything about it. And you went to work and you found out, and you had it in your column earlier this week. Tell everybody about the high school All-Star game this year.
The high school All-Star game, yes. That we're Gary Chapman. This is his final year running the high school All-Star game. It is going to be at Mira Mesa High School, and they're going to try a noon start this year. And Gary said, hey, we've tried 6 o'clock, we've tried 4 o'clock. And you and I talked. I think noon might be an hour early. Maybe 1 o'clock would be better. But they put a lot of work in this. And the one problem they have right now, excuse me, is that they have a lot of teams from the South still in the playoffs. The Monte Vistas, the Granite Hills, the El Caps. So it's hard for the South to put a team together right now because they don't know who's going to be playing next week, and we could have 6 teams in the playing for state championships. We could have none, but so the North is kind of way ahead on putting a team together. But this is always an entertaining game. And it benefits the high school coaches sports association, and last year moving it out of Mesa College and going to Mira Mesa High was a really good move. They filled the entire one side of the stadium and at Mira Mesa High, and a very entertaining game. And I would encourage people to get there.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get to that this year. I normally make it. I didn't make it last year, but I'm looking forward to going this year. John, stay warm. It's getting a little cooler out, but you're going to be out in the East County tonight watching that El Cap game. So continued success, safe travels, and thanks for the time.
Thank you. Take care.
There you go. John Maffei from the San Diego Union Tribune breaking it all down for us on a Friday morning. 6 games, 2 tonight and 4 tomorrow. They had a good breakdown this morning in the San Diego Union Tribune. Okay, Monday, we're going to be back in. And I guarantee you by Monday, we're going to have a lot of baseball chatter going on. We got NFL games over the weekend. We don't talk a lot about the NFL. Maybe Monday. I'll break it down for the Chargers and Rams a little bit, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on either one of those teams. Now we get to the playoffs, maybe we'll get a little bit more. We're also going to get a little more definitive answers on what's going on out there at San Diego State. I mentioned Jordan Napier, Jalen Armstead, and their backup quarterback, Tuaputu Johnson, all going to enter the transfer portal on Monday. But at the end of the day, retention, man, you got to recruit, but you got to have retention. You got to try to keep your own players. And we'll see what Sean Lewis is able to get done in that area. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the program today. And again, thanks for supporting the channel. And if you would, we're getting close. We're getting close. I want to get to 3,000 subscribers. That would be a nice little goal. 3,000 subscribers. We want to keep building it. And please, when you talk to friends, there are a lot of people who don't even know that Coach Kentera is back on the air doing a show. And we've got a big audience out there. Just get the word out. Maybe I'll see some of you tonight at the Leucadian. That'll be a fun time tonight. Got a lot of good friends coming. It's going to be a lot of fun starting, around 4, anytime, between 4 and 5 normally. But if you've tuned in and haven't subscribed to the program, please subscribe. Doesn't cost anything, and like the channel. And we're going to look forward to be back here on Monday. I'm really fired up about Monday's show because once the GMs and everybody show up down in Dallas, the fireworks will begin. And like I said, I think the Padres are probably going to have to make some kind of deal to get a catcher. But until Monday, Coach John Kentera, have a safe and happy weekend. We'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.